Greetings, family. Greetings. Omziel Healing Sanctuary here. This is the art of rising. Thank you so much for tapping in. I appreciate your support. I'm here with my co-host, Denzel Hill.
One day at a time, we
One,
rise, we shine.
that's
Going off
right.
the camera. There we
Okay.
go.
Let's
What's
just
up, everybody?
I want to make a couple of things clear before we move on, brother, okay?
Okay.
We're the art of rising. That's what it is.
What
So
does it mean to rise, Omar?
basically,
What does that mean to you?
this show, what it means to me and to everyone is that we're always in that perpetual motion of rising. We are here to learn about how can you make yourself better? How could you make your life better? How can you rise financially, physically, spiritually, all of that. You know, we do breath work, we do ice plunge, we do many things here at OMZL. People who know us, they already know when you come here, it's family and it's community. So the natural evolution for us is just the podcast. Now we're reaching countless people are getting to know us and see what we're doing. So
That's right. We get to connect with prominent individuals in your community that you may not even know, but every day they're doing it, and they're doing it because they have a plan, they have a formula. They had it. They had that spark one day, like boom, this is what I provide, and do
exactly.
that.
And that's what we're doing here. That's why today's podcast, we have a good brother coming in, Roger Sherman. He's going to say a little bit about what he does with his life, where he's come from, and all of that. There was some bio that he sent me, and it's slipping my mind at the moment because that's how things do, right? But that's okay. We'll give him a chance to explain what is it that he's doing, the business and his struggles daily. So let's just let him in the room and see how it goes.
What's up,
Welcome.
Roger?
Welcome, brother.
What's up,
Welcome.
everybody? How you guys
How you
doing?
doing?
Good. Thanks for
Excellent.
having me in, man.
Excellent. Please, yes, tell us a little bit about yourself, your life, and what's going on.
My name is Roger Sherman. I'm the pit master and owner of the District Pit Barbecue Catering Company here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia. And I've been in business catering barbecues for about 6 years now. This is year 6 for us. And it's been a really positive experience, really difficult experience, really fun experience, really lucrative experience, just an experience all the way around. But before we get into that, man, I always, Omar and I have talked on different iterations of podcasts, his podcast, my podcast previously. And, I always tell the story of how he and I actually met because it's a fun story. So I have a daughter. And I had taken a whole bunch of pictures of my kid. We had gotten some professional pictures done, and I was sending them out to a friend of mine online. This is way back before there was Facebook and Instagram and all this stuff was really popular. And I had emailed these pictures to a friend of mine. This friend of mine's email was one digit off from what was Omar's email at that time. So I ended up sending pictures of my daughter and me to a stranger. This goes out into the ether. But he responded. He responded very kindly. He was like, "Hey, I'm not the person who you meant to be emailing, but you got a beautiful daughter. Take care of her. I've got one, blah, blah, blah." So then I responded to that. And like 15 years later, here we are still having this same type of dialogue. So that's how Omar and I got connected. It's a good story. It's like one of those things where we were supposed to be friends. It just kind of happened organically. So that's my story with Omar and us being friends.
Yep. It's been great. It's been a great journey. I just wanted to say too, brother, I was able to go over to DC and Ranja, he brought out the family and he gave me the nickel tour. Well, let me say it was more like 50 cents because he took me to all of the monuments and everything. We ate and it was just great, bro. Thank you again, brother.
No problem, man. You got to come back and we'll do it again. I've been up to his spot in Jersey once. It was great. Had a good time. The fact that we don't get together as often as we should is on us, and we'll just have to reconcile that. But the business is the business. Like I said, I mean, I'm not doing anything that's complicated. At the end of the day, all I'm doing is feeding people. I'm taking big roast the meat, holding them over fires for extended periods of time until they're really tender. Then I cut them up and I put them on.
I got a question, Roger. I got a question.
Yeah,
why do the people keep coming back?
Because I know what I'm doing. Because I know what I'm doing.
Back?
Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm not saying that I'm bad at this,
I'm
not saying that I'm bad at this. What I'm saying is it's not complicated. The cooking portion of what I do, it's complicated. I mean, there's a lot of science that goes into barbecue, but at the end of the day, I always try to explain to people very simply that cavemen were holding meat over fire 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 years ago. So that's not the complicated part of it. It's really easy to cook. It's really fun to cook, and I really enjoy it. The more complicated things, about it are the business aspects of it. The marketing, setting up events, formulating relationships, etc. ... But my business started very simple. I woke up one day. My wife and I both woke up one day, and we realized that we didn't have any savings for our children to go to college. She and I, we had kids pretty young. We got to the point where, they're in their early teen years, and we're still in at that point our mid 30s, and we're staring down the barrel of having to pay some college tuitions, and we weren't really prepared for that. We didn't set ourselves up for success, and we were really behind the 8 ball. So we decided, hey, let's try catering and see where this goes. And it started very small. It started very organically. The first thing that we did for the first 2 years that we were unofficially in business was we were just doing holiday meals. So we were doing your turkey and your ham for Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, and that was pretty much it. And that's kind of how the word kind of got out about us. The next thing I knew, people were asking us to do, hey, I got 10 people coming over my house, Raj. You think you could put together, could you cook a brisket for us? And I got 20 people coming to my house, Raj. Can you cook some chicken for us and this, that, the other thing? What really set me off and what really started with my business was one of my closest friends, and he happened to actually be one of my roommates in college. He's my fraternity brother, and eventually was the best man at my wedding, owned a small sandwich shop. And somebody came to him one day for some catering. They wanted him to cater a pool party for like 100 people. He didn't really want to do it. So he called me. He was like, hey, Raj, you want to do this pool party underneath my banner, underneath my thing, and just go out here and try this and see how you do about it. And I was like, sure, that's a good idea. 100 people, cooking for 100 people. I could cook for 100 people right now in my sleep, and not even blink an eye, not even bat an eye. I could do it so easily. I wouldn't break a sweat. That day, I was 100% sure that my wife was going to file for divorce because we had one kettle grill.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, man, we had a single kettle grill. I had like a 3-foot barrel smoker that I had to put a whole bunch of. I even remember the menu. We did chicken, we did pulled pork, we did coleslaw, baked beans, and mac and cheese. That's all we did. But you're cooking for 100 people. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do this in a reasonable amount of time, and you're going to have to allocate space for it. If I cook that same menu for 100 people today, it would take me 8 hours. That took me 22 hours. And we just, we cooked overnight. We were refrigerating things, and we were warming things back up, and this, that, the other thing. And by the time we get to the event, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, this is going to be a disaster. What have I gotten myself into? But I set it out there, and the people, we weren't serving people. It was just a buffet. They were going through it, and then 2 hours into it, there's not a morsel left. Everybody's jumping in the pool. Everybody's having fun. And I realized at that moment, like, this is a viable opportunity for me to educate my children. It's a viable opportunity for me to increase my my personal net worth. It's a viable opportunity for me to make sure that my wife and I can go on the vacations that we want to do. And I realized at that moment that I could get to that point. So next thing is we put out a couple of business cards, and then we put together a terrible looking hacked up website that that we could start advertising ourselves on. And then before you knew it, we had 1 or 2 events a month, and then before you know it, we were doing 2 or 3 events a week. And here we are today, 6 years deep officially in the business. We probably do somewhere between 80 and 90 events a year. And we've increased our footprint. So we're not just doing backyard barbecues anymore. We've done half a dozen weddings. I've probably done a dozen wedding rehearsals, different parties associated with that, graduations. Those are the types of things you would expect to see, a barbecue chef doing. But then we decided, how can we elevate ourselves a little bit? How can we make ourselves a little bit different from the other people doing barbecue in Washington, D.C.? About 2 or 3 months before my wife and I got married. Well, let me back up a little bit and cut me off here. And feel free to jump in as I'm telling stories here.
No, go ahead, brother.
Drink very much. I don't drink very much.
I'll tell you this. That's far the favorite part about your story is the we, because from your we is like, why you've crafted how you've crafted throughout the years and created this success, because there's this unit that's created District Pit. So
we're about to spend some of that unit's about to be gone, and it's about to just be me and her.
Oh,
we're about to anyway. So a couple of months before my wife and I got married, we went up to Canada. We went to Niagara Falls just because we'd never been there. If you've ever been to Niagara Falls, it's very pretty. It's very nice. I enjoy going up there. But after you stare at the falls for a full day, what do you do next? So we went to the concierge and we asked them, hey, what do we do? They were like, hey, there's like 100 wineries within 40 miles of here. Why don't you pick 3 or 4 of them, go check them out and do some wine tastings? So we did that. And I was not a big drinker, wine, beer, alcohol. That's not something that I particularly got into. But I tried some wine up in Canada and I really liked it. And then when we got back to DC, we realized, oh my God, we're in a really big wine region here in the Washington, DC area. A lot of people don't know that. I'm from here and had no idea. So we started venturing out and checking out wineries and blah, blah, blah. Years later, we start the business. And as we're trying to differentiate ourselves against the other barbecue companies in DC, we partnered with a couple of wineries in Virginia. And now our signature event is barbecue and wine pairings, where we do a barbecue and wine brunch. And we give you a big plate of food and they give you a lot of great wines. And that has helped to elevate our brand and make us a little bit more of a household name in this region. They associate me with wine.
It does.
We've been doing that for 2 years now.
Yeah, Roger, and I've been meaning to tell you this also, brother. That has been like genius, bro. I mean, like genius, because I seen you like smoking meats and doing these little catering things here and there, and I was like, all right, he's putting in the work, he's putting in some sweat equity. But then when I saw you pairing up with these wineries, like they're with like I don't know how many hundreds of acres of grapes, and like it's a real winery, bro. It's not like some guys just fermenting grapes in the back of his basement or something.
It's
Beautiful,
it's a real legit organization. Yes.
I love it. Just pure genius, man. So so now you've stepped up into this, and I see you doing more things. And I'm always hesitant to say some of the things I do because it always sounds, to me anyway, like braggadocious or whatever. But I have noticed, and I'm sure many people have too, that you've been on national television a few times, bro. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've had a good stroke of luck, man. So we've been on television a couple of times because we have been fortunate enough to win a couple of small business grants, national small business grants. So we won one for Comcast Rise a couple of years ago, if you're familiar with the cable company Comcast. Last year, we won a different one called the Black Kitchen Initiative, which was sponsored by Heinz. So everybody's familiar with Heinz. You're familiar with Comcast. So we've won a couple of grants in the last couple of years by spinning ideas associated with our barbecue. These guys are looking for new, fresh ideas. And the new, fresh idea that I spun to these guys is exactly what I just told you, the barbecue wine pairing, where we're trying to take our little tiny small black business and elevate it into the next level, elevate it into the next stratosphere, take it out of the backyard. So we've had an opportunity to be on the news a couple times for that. And I'll be honest with you, man, that's a godsend, because then all of a sudden people see your face, they associate you with success. They assume and rightly so, that if you've won these won these grants and you've been put on television, you must have some type of skill or talent. In my case, I can cook, and then the phone starts ringing. So that's a blessing. That's a blessing for us, because whenever that happens, you'll see, the phone will start ringing off the hook for us. The email starts piling up. People are looking for our services, and that's always a plus. So, while I don't think I'm gonna, no one's gonna give me a show anytime soon. I don't think, but I think I show pretty well on television. I think people are interested in what I have to say, and people are interested in the story. So.
You did. And in fact, I know in the beginning, I saw one of the major steps that you made was you were in that museum, right?
Yeah. So yeah, we were doing something in DC. There's a boutique hotel and museum in DC called the O Street Mansion, and we were doing some stuff with them during the pandemic, because everybody was shut in. There wasn't a lot of opportunity, but when things started opening up a little bit, we started pairing with them on different events, little tiny backyard barbecues at their space. And that gave us an opportunity to start, to start marketing ourselves to their clientele. And then all of a sudden, we're dealing with the wineries, and then all of a sudden we're dealing with the breweries and then the distilleries. So it's just one of those things where it was kind of like a diamond in the rough. We just kind of found each other, and then all of a sudden there was some synergy there. And that's a big part of my business. Is the synergy piece here. I hate to keep dwelling on the winery piece, but they're my favorite. They're my favorite people to deal with. I work with 3 wineries in Virginia, and I'm going to throw their names out there for people who in this area that might be watching. It's Perriman Cellars, Vint Hill Craft Winery, and Effingham Manor, and they are tremendous wineries with great wine. But the better thing about it is it's not that they just have great wine, but they got great people working there and great partnerships. So it's really easy for me to get in there. Like I said, I did a couple of things for them one time, and they were like, "Oh, this guy kind of gets it. He kind of fits in well with us." And before you knew it, we were doing stuff with all of those guys monthly. That's all I'm looking for, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of people who can cook, but can you put your product in front of people who can put you in front of more people, who can put you in front of more people. And that's what they have done for me. And that is what I try to do for them, which is why I'm shouting them out on your podcast now. If you go there, buy a couple of bottles of wine, mention my name, you might not get a discount.
Yeah, that's perfect genius, man, because that's what we hear, right? I hear your story and your business is coming along and all that, but really the meat of it is just that. Like, how do people excel? And for me, that's a huge part of it. It's the communication part. Can you get along with people, right? Because there's people who have certain skills or certain products and to offer, but if you can't get along with people, if they don't really feel you like that, bro, nah.
I try to impress that upon a lot of people who I deal with. Like, you can be the best at your craft, but if you can't sell that craft to people, then you'll never be the level of successful that you probably deserve to be with your skills. So I'll throw this anecdotal thing out there. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I never tell anybody that I'm an entrepreneur. This is a useless word to me. Why? Because if I just tell you that I'm an entrepreneur, that forces you to ask a second question. Well, what do you do? What are you entrepreneuring? What is your business? I'm just going to cut to the chase and tell you I'm a barbecue chef. Because if you don't understand that I'm trying to sell ribs and chicken and brisket, then I'm useless to you and you're useless to me. So you got to be able to present yourself that way and market yourself as such. I am a barbecue chef. That is all that I am. I'm not anything more than that. I'm also a lot of other things. I'm the head of marketing. I'm the head janitor. I'm the head this, that, the other thing. I've got to do all those things. But at the end of the day, people have to understand that all I am is a barbecue chef. Those other things that I do, the marketing, the advertising, this, that, the other thing, people have to see that. People have to understand it, and I have to be able to communicate that. So that's a much bigger piece than people want to admit. It's easy to go out there and cook. I can do that all day long. I can walk you through that. I could teach classes on how to cook a brisket. But at the end of the day, what I really want to do is sit there and watch people eat my product. And unless I'm able to market myself, then I can't get to that.
Right. When you read
But
books on being successful, right, they usually say a handful of things. And one of them is serve. If you want to be successful, serve. You have to like what you're doing in that capacity where you're bringing joy to people. Like you get a great deal of pleasure out of that, and then that's where success just flourishes. So now we
yeah,
have the background on your business and all that. Tell us a little bit about, when you were growing up and some of the struggles that you've come across, to where you at now.
look, I'm a Washington D.C. native. Grew up here in the District of Columbia. I ended up going to boarding school for high school, and I'll touch on that a little bit. So I went to a small boarding school in the Midwest, and I come from Washington D.C., where the population at that time, was 75% of the people in the city were Black. And then at my school, it was 100% Black. I think I was in fourth grade before I ever had a white person in any of my classes.
Wow.
And I get to high school, and that's typical for inner city. That's typical for any city Black kids. That's nothing new. I mean, you'll see that in Philly and Brooklyn. That's not new. So
Okay.
I get to this boarding school, and then all of a sudden, this is super influential in my life. I get to this boarding school, and I might fudge some of the numbers here, but it's roughly 40% white. It's 30% Hispanic. And then the remaining 30% are a hodgepodge of Blacks, Native Americans, and Asians, mostly kids from Vietnam. That opened my eyes to a lot of things, and that was very influential in helping me understand how the word really works, because the world is not all Black. It's also not all white, so that was eye-opening for me. The reason why that was so eye-opening for me is because when I went to college, I went to a predominantly white institution where I think that there was 3% Black enrollment, and I believe a total of 8% total minority enrollment. And all of a sudden I saw what the world is kind of really like, or at least in corporate America. And I was kind of weaned off of the entirely Black experience as I grew a little bit older. And then when I got my first job in corporate America, where I looked around and was like, oh my God, I'm the only person of color here. But I was prepared for it. So that's like a quick overview of the history of my life. When I realized, there are places in this world where you can be yourself. I live in Southeast Washington, D.C. right now. I live 3 blocks from the elementary school that I went to. I've lived in 10 different cities in my life. I've lived in D.C. 3 different times. My sisters make fun of me because we're 2 blocks from the elementary school. They said I haven't gone anywhere in life. There's probably some truth in that. But that was a big struggle in my life, Omar, dealing with coming from an all Black community and having to wean myself off of that to understand how the world really worked. The struggles associated with my elementary school, my high school, my collegiate, and then my corporate America portion of my life is all about that. But I had a good upbringing. Like I said, I got good, loving parents. My mom is a physician. My father was a psychologist. We weren't poor by any stretch of the imagination. We had our own struggles, but the mortgage was paid for. That type of stuff. When I got to, when I got out in the real world, So here's a good one. You always want your children to do better than you and be better than you. My mother's a physician. I'm a chef. It's just like I'm not on her level. So it's just one of those things where I came from such a good upbringing. I had such a good mom, putting me in such a position to be successful that I haven't reached that same level of success that she has reached that yet. So that's something I battle with. I'm also in a weird situation where everybody in my family, I barbecue is not my full-time job. It's something that I do on the side. I actually have a full-time job. My mother was a physician. My father was a psychologist. My little sister is a social worker. My older sister is a nurse. And I work in corporate America.
And
everybody's out there doing stuff for other people, which is why I guess you get into the barbecue piece of it. And that's my opportunity to go out there and serve. But I didn't have a tough upbringing, I didn't have the easiest upbringing. There's a lot of people who had it a lot worse than me.
Right. I kind of noticed that about you, like when I first met you too. I kind of seen some things because I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I could see some of those things about you, but without you even saying those things. Where on the other hand, I did come from a very poor neighborhood, and my mother was on public assistance, and my father was, just jumping around here and there, just trying to make things happen and fooling around. There was lots of abuse. There was alcohol and drugs and all kinds of things. So I was brought up on that side. The schools were rough, and there was beatings and all kinds of things that happened there too. But it also helped to make me too. Like I was lost in the beginning, but like when we met each other, that's when I was getting away from some of those things, leaving some of those addictions and stuff like that, and trying to clean up. And you just came at the right time, and yeah, things just clicked together, and you started getting into this other business. And if you notice, that was around the same time I started doing my thing too, right?
Yeah.
You see, right? And they were like, "Yeah, I'm doing this thing too, Omziel. Like that's it. We're doing the ice plunge." And I could barely get one or two guys to come through, you
Yeah.
know. But now, like the one of the last plunges I had, there was 16 people. There was bodies all over the floor here, bro, breathing and holding breath, and there was a big line outside with the water and the ice. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just a
but
calling.
eventually you're going to get to the point where you're not going to have the space. You're going to have to start turning people away, or people are going to have to schedule earlier. That's kind of where we are right now. Like, there was a point where people would call me 3 days before an event, and I would scramble to get it done. You call me 3 days before, and I'm booked. I'd love to help you, but I can't. You're gonna very quickly run into that same problem. Where you're gonna wish you had more space, and then you'll get it. You'll get more space.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on with some things new too with brother Denzel that's with us too, and yeah, we're growing things.
Yeah, Mike, you're the turner right now, just like making that connection, because just understanding how y'all like first met and then created that. Oh man, we're along the same path. What's up, bud? Let's travel along together. It helps me see that y'all have chosen what you love to do. First of all, you've chosen something that you really can wake up every day and can just mold it, touch it, craft it, curate it, and it's inspiring because you're not going to stop looking for that edge, that fork in the road, that innovation. Yeah. Roger, how you collaborate with the winery and how you use it as a platform to reach more people.
Roger,
Roger,
hold your thought for a second. Now, I wanted to say that, the road is not paved with all of these rose petals and stuff like that. So, yeah, I've got the stories, bro. People that they swear they're behind you, they got your back. Like, I'm always texting Roger, like, I can't believe, oh man, he swear to God he was with me. Guy didn't show up on Saturday. It called me on Monday, talking like, hey, what's up? Like, nothing happened. And, so it's rough too. So yeah, Roger, please, if you could talk a little bit about that.
Look, it's not all roses, man. So here's the big problem with what I do. The what I do is so extremely physical and is so extremely related to nature and physicality. So, for example, anything that I cook, there's a couple of pieces of meat that I'm really good at. We do a lot of brisket, we do a lot of pulled pork. You're in it for 12 hours, no matter what you're doing. You're going to be in that for 12 hours. If it's raining outside, that means you're in the rain for 12 hours. If it's cold outside, that means you're in the cold for 12 hours. So when you say you find something that you just love to wake up and do and this, that, and the other thing, nah, dog, that is not how this works. Because my alarm clock goes off sometimes, and I was like, why am I doing this? I can't tell you how many times I'm lighting up the fire at 3:00 in the morning, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I wish I was like a computer coder where I could just, sit at my desk and type code and just pump it out to clients and this, that, the other thing. And that's not how it works for me. In order for me to light that grill up, you got to go chop that wood first. If you're not chopping it, if you're paying somebody else to chopping it, you still got to stack it. They're gonna deliver that. You got to stack that up. There are a lot of physical things associated with that. You got to get all of that food.
What time are you up? Because I know you're up at some ungodly hour doing these things.
I'm always up by 4. 4 is the latest I will get up. And if I don't have an event that I got to get up to cook for, I'm getting up and I'll work out just to keep myself in that mode of getting up at 4. If the weekends come around and I don't have an event, I might get up at 5 or 6, but I'm up at 4. So I'll put in a full day's work before most people are up, which is fine. It's what I signed up for. So getting up early is not necessarily a problem for me, but there are some sacrifices there. You got to go to bed a little bit earlier. I'd like to go hang out at the sports bar with my boys a little bit longer, but I know I got to get up, in a couple of hours. So I can't, you got to sit that one out. The other physical stuff that you're dealing with the barbecue, if you're cooking chicken for 100 people, you got to have that much chicken to put out on that grill. That all has to be prepped. And that takes hours. You got to get it all out there. You got to get it all out there, and you got to carry it out there. You got to put it on the big giant smoker. And then, you can sit there and chill a little bit while it's smoking. But at the end of the day, now you got to take all that back off. And then now you got to package it appropriately. And, the FDA guidelines and this, so you got to package these things appropriately. You got to refrigerate them appropriately. You got to rewarm them appropriately. You have to carry them appropriately, and all of those things require a great amount of physical labor, which for the first 3 years of my journey in this business, I did entirely by myself. Now we've gotten to the point where I've got a little bit more of a staff. I've got a part-time staff, some people who help me with logistics, a couple of people who help me with a little bit of the cooking. So it's become a little bit easier, but at the same time, if you're cooking for 100, 200 people, you got to get everything cooked and you got to get it out there. So, right. just to push back on you, Denzel, I do not love this every day. I love the result.
Why do you keep the result? I'm the type to pick out the wisdom and what's the inborn, I can keep doing this, even though that it's like this prickly skin of cactus that just bothers me about this craft. Because I share it with getting on the computer, have to click keys with architecture. Cannot stand it. But
sure.
There's something that just makes me dive into it and come right back to it. Every day that I have a long path ahead of me to become a licensed architect or whatever. But why do I choose this path? Why do I choose this hard? It's inherently hard, and we choose what we want to embark on. Is that what you're in the middle of? Are you seeing it transform your family around you? Are you seeing it as a tool where your family can adhere to and basically build together? What is it? What is that? This
was a project that I put together to make sure that we could get the kids educated. That was the entire purpose of that. So that was the goal. I'm a pretty goal-driven individual. I can focus on something and say, okay, I have to get to that point. So I knew at that point when we started this, that was a long goal that was away. We're very close to finishing that up now. But that was the goal. Now the whole thing that keeps me coming back is, even though it's difficult, at the end of the day, it's mine, and I chose it. I put myself in this position to do this. Yes, I took something that I was good at, and I made it into something that was, that is in some way, shape, or form bigger than me. Because when I am at a barbecue, the food and the experience of that barbecue is bigger than I am. I put the whole thing together, but the sum of those parts, it's all bigger than me, because there's 100 people there or 200 people there, and they're having a really good time, and they're smiling and joking and laughing. And I made that happen, and that's very exciting. And at the end of the day, really what it comes down to, and I sometimes hate to throw this out here, sometimes, guys, it's about the money. Because the money in it is very good. My wife and I, for the last 18 months, have been on 5 continents in 12 different countries off of barbecue money. Yeah, we're just, we both got full-time jobs, and the mortgage is taken care of. We're paying for the cars. We're we're not in dire straits, and we've got this surplus of money over here that we're raking in because we're doing all these barbecues 3-4 times a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times on a weekend, 15, 20 times a month, 100 times a year. That
Excuse me, make your tax deductible contribution to the Omziel Healing Sanctuary.
Now the food margins aren't thick. The food margins are thin, but like I said, we're doing so many of these. Like I said, there are some benefits to that. So my wife and I are, we're not sitting around DC on every vacation. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like I said, we've got a little bit more disposable income, and we made that happen. So that keeps me motivated. Like, what's the next trip we can get to? What's the next continent we can visit? That type of stuff. So that's what keeps me pumping, man.
It looks like some of the jewels that you're dropping is wake up early, right? Own the day, right? Sweat equity, right? I read it in a book one time. It said going to the beach is procrastination and owning the beach is discipline.
It's a good way to put it.
You see,
going to the barbecue.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. You're gonna go to the barbecue. You're gonna own the barbecue.
Exactly.
I chose option B.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I say. Like, you met me, Roger, before. I was doing lots of black market stuff, and like, oh my God, like I was making lots and lots of cash. But I figured, like, if we're hanging out, I have a product that I want to sell you. Like, are you interested in it? You are interested. I know you are. So, it's great to be on that side of that, and just the time that you put in, the sweat equity and the jewels that you're dropping, it's just phenomenal, man. You're doing great work out there, bro. Really.
Appreciate
I love it. Every time I see you, yeah, bro, I'm on it too. Like, all my free time is this with Omziel. Like,
I was about to say, Roger, just to double back to what we did agree on, is like, it's not complicated. And that's
it's not.
Thing around success, it ain't complicated. It's consistent as hell, bro. It is like,
go grind it out.
You got to be up. Like 4:15, I'm late. Everything gonna pile on top of each other, and boom. Before you know it, I'm 3 hours behind.
Yeah.
If I'm not up at 4, it doesn't get done. It just doesn't get done. And like I said, that's unfortunately where I have boxed myself in. But eventually I'll break out of that box.
It's definitely a process too, because that happens to me too. Like, guys want to come and have a good time, and we're gathering and everything, but then now it's time to clean the toilets, and nobody's there. Like, but then, I'm like, what the, but then I hear that little voice in my head saying, I gave this to you. This is your dream for you to build. You wanted this. You clean the toilets. You throw the garbage out. You make the phone calls. You send the emails. Like, I'm like, you're right.
Take control, man. It's just take control of your situation, and sometimes it's more difficult to do than others. Like I said, I was in a pretty good position. I had a good job. My wife was employed. We had some wiggle room. We were not in dire straits, but we still felt the weight of the kids' future on our shoulders. And that was motivation enough. You want to put them in position to be successful. And
like they say, if you're doing things to be successful, to get the car or to get the house or to get that vacation, then you're going to give up at some point. But when you have other deeper ulterior motives, like your mom, your children, those type of things, you get up, you get out of bed, you got that spring. You're like, I've got to do this. This is getting done. I don't care if I'm not good. I'm going to make myself good enough. I'm going to learn. I'll take a class. Whatever I got to do.
Right. Today's that day.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to my parents. Just interject. Mom and dad held it down for me all throughout my life. And anytime you want to give up, you just remember, like, those people like just gave you a lot to work with. So just keep going. They're gonna be there to push you along. But I promise you, how you feel is not even gonna match how they feel when they see you succeed. And that's one thing I always give some thanks to my support cast.
I squandered so much of what my mom gave me. Like, I look back at it and be like, oh man, she really put me in a good position, and I really squandered that. Me and my sisters laugh, because my mom is really, really done well. She's very successful. We just joke with her like, you got to just look at us and be disgusted. You deserve so much better than this. But we're all out there trying. Like I said, we made a bunch of mistakes. I got 2 sisters. We made all kinds of mistakes, but she did the best she could.
That's great. That's great, man. I can see that too, because I've seen your mom in the pictures and all that, and you guys are doing some great work, man. And then you're traveling too, right? And I seen you recently. Where were you that you were doing those cold plunges?
We just came back from Iceland. We were in Reykjavik, and let me tell you, if you're gonna go to Iceland, go in June. Go in June.
Okay.
We were there in January. We were there. We left at the end of January, came back at the very, very beginning of February. That is not the place to be, dog. And if you're watching the news, there's volcanoes blowing up all over Iceland right now. Like we were like less than a mile from where one had erupted like 2 weeks before, and then it immediately erupted like a week after we left. And they're every day I get an update because we were following on that. But yeah, we went over there and did some cool stuff, man. Like I said, we did do what you're talking about, the ice bath. We did like this 7-step ritual at one of the big hot springs over there, one of the thermal springs or whatever they have, where you're in this 70-degree water or whatever it is. I don't know how, but it was very nice. No, I guess it would be over 100. It was kind of like a hot tub. But it's thermal springs, so whatever that is.
Natural.
And then you get out of that. Yeah, it's exactly the natural springs. And then you get out of there and you sit in this ice bath that is super cold. So if you don't know what super cold is, you can take water. Water freezes at 32 degrees. But if you put a salt mixture in that water, it won't freeze right away, and you can actually get it below 32 degrees. And it's called super cold.
And it stays liquid.
It's liquid. Yeah, it's liquid. I mean, it's liquid. And you're in there, and it is like it's like nothing. Like, I mean, you've done the ice baths. I've done tons of ice baths. Before I was an athlete, I've sat in ice baths 1,000 times. We used to do the thing where you get in the ice tub and then get in the hot tub, get in the ice bath, get in the hot tub, go back and forth. This was nothing like that. This was like being stabbed by 10,000 daggers the first time you get in. But after you get through that, after you get through the first 30 seconds of shock and awe, and you gather yourself and start really thinking about what you're experiencing and get inside of yourself, it was really nice. I would do it again. And then, like I said, there was other pieces of it. You went and sat in a steam room. There was a dry sauna. There was a salt bath. There were 7 parts to it. I think I just touched on 5 of them, but really, really incredible experience. So the stuff you guys are doing with the ice bath over there is incredible stuff. The one thing I probably could have benefited from was some of the breathing techniques, because when I got in that water, boy, I just incredible though.
That's what we tell people too. Like they go, "Oh man, that cold is crazy," but I say we do the breath work first. We just don't get in the water.
Dive into the science of how to breath, and then the ice, the amygdala, everything, the mind. Talk about it, Omar. What's special about what we're doing?
Exactly. So the breath work, that's the one that prepares you. It oxygenizes the cells in your body. So some people say, "Oh, that's just like this guy who does that." And I usually tell them, I don't mention that guy because he doesn't mention me on his podcast,
Right.
And I say, and besides, he didn't invent it. Ancient Egyptians were putting their newborns like in freezing river water and stuff like that. It's there. I mean, even Native Americans too, they still do. And in parts of like the Ukraine too, you've seen some of this crazy stuff. Like sometimes they put the kids like out in the cold to sleep outside in the cold. What it does is it strengthens the immune system. That's what it does, the cold. But the breath work, really, it prepares you for that. It alkalines your blood. It slows your system down, because this part of the brain here, this is the one that's the monkey mind, the frontal lobe right here, the one that sends you crazy saying, "Get out of the water, it's crazy." So it slows you down with the breath work. But then in the ice, like once you're ready, it's still cold and it still hurts too, So
it's a great experience. Like I said, I would do it again. I would do it again. I would go, but like I said, I would do it in June, because once you get out of the ice bath, it's still like 32 degrees outside. You know what I'm saying?
Wow,
So,
that's cold.
but
That's
it was
very cold.
yeah, it was a good trip. It was a good trip.
Yeah, that's good, man. So tell me, are you happy?
Yeah, that's always a difficult question for me to answer, because I am really 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 good at not being happy.
Mm,
I am an expert at not being happy. It is I am skilled at not being happy. It is really hard for me to stop and find myself in a position where I'm happy, because I've got a history in my life of making a whole bunch of questionable decisions that I had to suffer for, or pay for. I've spent a lot of myself, without going into too many details, I feel like I've spent a lot of my life in purgatory, because I have had to atone for so many of the poor decisions that I've made in my life. So it is hard for me to sit in a position and be like, yo, I'm really happy right now. But it is not difficult for me. It is not as difficult for me recently to sit in a position and be like, you know what, I'm content.
mm,
I feel good about what I'm doing right now.
mm,
There are moments where I'm really, really, really happy. There are a lot of moments where I'm really happy. Are they
mm,
overly consistent? Do they last more than an hour or two?
mm,
No, unfortunately, they don't. But I am not unhappy. Am I overcome with joy all the time? Usually not. My wife would confirm that. She's like, "What's
mm,
wrong with
mm,
you? Why
mm,
can you smile a little bit more?"
mm,
But I'm
mm.
working on that.
Right.
But I am doing things in my life that I
Mm,
think that are going to lead to that happiness. And I
mm,
really truly feel that I am really close to the end of my stint in purgatory.
that's great. I was just reading a book recently. Ah, man, I can't remember that I was telling Denzel about it, but what he was talking about is that everything in life is just an experience. And if everything was just rosy and happy all the time, like we would be bored to tears out of our minds. Like we would just jump off the bridge because life has to come with these ups and downs. People
Mm.
just don't understand that. They feel that life
Rising.
should just be right, Denzel. That
Yep.
life should just be happy and rosy all the time. But it's
Yeah.
not like that. Humans are not meant to be like that.
Yeah, just
They.
speaking for the art of rising, art itself is that process of like really discovering what you don't want, what you're trying to get through, building up a palette of colors on a
Mhm.
canvas, and you just building layers, 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 layers. And then one day, boom, you
Right.
go, okay,
I
wow,
often.
yeah,
That's right. Yeah, I often speak about the book, The Untethered Soul. The Untethered Soul is by Michael Singer, and he talks about sitting in the seat of consciousness. Just be the observer of life. We're too close to the action. Like something that happened to you in your day, Roger, and you be like, I can't believe this, man. And you're too close to it. You have to just back up a little bit and say, oh, this is how it feels to be upset. This is how it feels to be angry enough where I just want to pick up the stick and hit the guy over the head.
yeah,
The part with the nail sticking out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but don't do it.
Yeah. No, jail time's not worth it.
Exactly. Exactly. But that's great, man. You're doing things. We love what you're doing. That's why I had to have you on the show. And you dropped so many jewels down, man. Thank you so much.
where can we find you at, Roger?
Mhm.
Tell us.
If you guys are on Instagram, follow us at District Pit. On Facebook, we're the District Pit.
All
And
right.
follow us. If you need barbecue services in the District of Columbia or the surrounding region, come see us. We'll give you a good plate. If you like
You know,
wine, come at us too. We'll get you to the white wineries.
Yeah, Denzel, when we first did our grand opening of Omziel, when we became official LLC and all that, I asked him, hey, would you like to cater the food over there? He said, sure. He drove down, Denzel,
Yeah,
from
yeah,
DC with the food, bro.
yeah. That was a
Set
good time.
everything up. That was our very first. Everybody loved the food, bro. It was just amazing, brother. Thank you so much, man.
No
You're
problem,
great
brother. Thank
person,
you for
bro.
having us. It was a good
Appreciate
time.
you.
Thank you,
Give
Roger. Thank you so
yes,
much.
thank you. Give love to the family, man.
Thanks,
Okay?
guys.
All right, brother. Peace and love. The stage.
That really not shocked me, but it's often that people say like, "Oh, I love what I do," but
Mhm.
there's a
Mhm.
few that's like, "Man, there's a lot that I don't like about this." But there's
Mhm. Mhm.
that sliver, that silver lining in a cloud that
Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you, this guy, he's a beast, bro. He's really putting in the work, and you would think like, hey, I want to be a solo guitarist in the biggest band in the world. Then you get there, and then you would see that you have to travel the world. You got to get up at crazy hours. You have to practice your guitar like 50 hours a week. It's just like that with anything. With anything,
yeah,
people
I
always
swear
looking
to
at
you,
this,
that's what the art of rising is all about. And
right?
once I
Mhm.
figured that out, once you really like figured that out, you start to go down that path of,
Mhm.
okay, how am I gonna rise? What am I gonna rise through? What's gonna be my catalyst? You know?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it may sound like at first that this is often the different direction from the rest of my family. Like my
Mhm.
guy was just saying,
Mhm.
uh, his wife, his mom's a physician, his sister's this, his dad is that, and
Mhm.
he's
Mhm.
doing this little side money thing with cooking and chefing,
Mhm.
But he's followed that desire. That desire we talk about, coming from like Neville Goddard's teaching, that desire is that God within you telling you like, go for this. There's something there for you to manifest. So figure out how you disassociate with your limiting beliefs and make
Mhm.
those desires happen. What do you
Exactly.
want to do and how you gonna get to it?
Yes, Neville Goddard is a great
Oh
person you mentioned there too. If anybody could just look up Neville Goddard, he's one of the masters. He tapped into things about how everything is already there.
mm-hmm.
We think that we're like creating these things. It's already there. We're just tapping into it and unfolding it. So whatever it is that you want to do,
Yeah,
right? So look at Roger, for instance. He could be anything. He could be a skateboard, wheel maker, or a curtain knitting crochet. You know what I'm saying? He could do anything, and he would excel at anything. But that's how all of us are, and that is the art of rising, right there. Is choose what is it that you want to do, and go with it for passion, and then stick with it. It's the discipline, it is the persistence, because when motivation runs out, and you already know, Denzel, it always runs out, bro. Motivation is nice, but it just starts the thing. But if you
yeah.
want to keep going, it's the discipline. When you don't feel like doing it, when it's that bed tells you, stay here, the
He didn't
bed is
answer it at first,
warm.
but it was his why. His
Hmm.
getting that dollar to get his daughter through school.
Yep,
He just happened to be able to travel the world because he
exactly. You see
tapped
what I
in
mean?
that hard to
Yeah.
the desire,
Hmm. Hmm.
that why. Oh my goodness.
Exactly. Exactly. Let's all do that. So listen, man, I failed to say the benefits in the beginning of the show, but I'm just going to throw it here at the end. So
Yeah,
anybody who's listening, the next ice bath that we have, man, just mention the code word district pit, and you come and you plunge for free. And we'll even throw in a few of my wife's magical muffins too.
oh God. What's the code again?
District Pit.
Japan.
That's it. So if you're seeing this anywhere you're at, just mention that to me, and you come on down to the Omziel Healing Sanctuary, and you could plunge for free. We've got the ice ready on hand. We'll do the breath work. I'll, run you through the ringer, and we'll also give you tools. That way you can learn to do this on your own, and reap the benefits of breath work and ice plunging.
Yeah, you guys would be surprised like what happens when you allow the body to go through these experiences and allow the mind to kind of sync up and shut up. Essentially, that's what the ice does for the
Hmm.
mind, and then
Hmm.
allowing you to align yourself with what it is that I've been trying to do for so long with all these distractions, throwing me
Right.
this way, that way.
Hmm.
No, you are the driver. You are in control. Whatever
Right.
you doing, or you are doing the breathing. You're not, it's like it's that powerful. It's
Hmm.
that powerful. So take that first step.
It is powerful. Like you would think, most of us or most people, they just go to a work place, to a job, like 9 to 5 or whatever, and they're like robots. They come home, they put Netflix on, they binge watch, right? And they just get lost in that. And then they get up in the morning and they do it again. You see? And they think like, well, this is life and I'm okay, I'm relaxed and stuff like that, right? They're not really pursuing much physically, mentally or spiritually, right? But take for instance AC. He was on the last show talking about that breath and ice, how it's changed him. Now he's pursuing things that he didn't before. The
Yeah,
procrastination has now been removed from his life. He didn't even know that those things were blocking him. So you're right when you say it's the powerful, powerful medicine right there. The breath and that ice that pushes you into the present moment.
that's right.
You
That's
know.
right. So we're here
So
every Thursdays, everybody. The art of rising. Me and
the art
Omziel.
of rising. That's right. Flow
Omziel,
state
building,
conversations.
mhm, building, building,
That's
building.
it. We're building. So that's it. Stay tuned for the next one, guys. Peace and
All right.
love.
You take care.
Peace.